Over to you, Rick.
All righty. Well, thanks for having me again. I know it's short notice that you guys had to fill the spot, so hopefully I can yeah, do it justice because I only had a couple hours notice. So it's kind of so what I'm going to do for you guys today is I had a spectacular trip over the last 6 days. My buddy and I went and stayed at a little resort, and we did 6 lakes in 6 days. And like I was saying to Derek, we were spending anywhere between 10 and 12 hours in a boat, and fishing to be blunt, fishing our asses off. And yeah, we're both paying for it now because we're both hurting because that's a lot of sitting around and stuff. So what I thought I'd do for you guys, like I said, short notice, is I'll tie you guys up some chironomids that we were using, and that worked very, very well for us. And not only that they worked well for us, they also this is like throat sample we were right. So there's a bunch of scuds in here, and unfortunately I threw my throat samples away with all the buzzers or chironomids in them. But that all the chironomids all the fish that we throat sampled all had similar chironomids in them, whether we were at 3,000 feet in elevation or 5,100 feet in elevation. They seem to all have 2 or 3 different color variations and sizes of chironomids. And at one lake that we were at, I don't know if you guys get them in the UK, but we call them bombers. And they're like size 6, size 8 chironomids. They're huge, like massive, like 1.5 inches, 2 inches long. Just huge chironomids, right? So, and we happened to see them yesterday at a little lake called Layton. So I thought I'd show you that as well. But let's just start with this one. So this is probably the one that I had the best success with this weekend. And it's just a gunmetal chironomid. I'm going to be using, these are called aquatalon hooks. They're chironomid hooks. They're very, very similar shape to the Tiemco. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. And Daiichi makes them as well. If I remember the number, I'll let you know. 7106. No, I can't remember the number. If I do, I'll let you know. But so this is a size 14. It's actually probably closer to a size 12. But Aquatalon, they make their stuff. Their sizing is a little off, in my opinion. Good hooks, but their sizing is off. So I'm going to start with some steel classic wax. Now for this size, the 12-aught's good. For the big bomber that I'll be doing later, you'd want to do like an 8-aught or something, just because you have to build up your body, and using a 12-aught on a size 8 hook takes forever, right? So I'm just going to go all the way back, just a little bit around the bend, and then I'm going to bring my thread back forward, making sure I really cover that shank. Okay, and then I will take a piece of, this is Buzzer Flex from Uphaven. So it's just the stretchy flex, right, from Uphaven. They said this is a super, super simple chironomid or buzzer. But this was absolutely the killer of this weekend. We probably, between my buddy and I, had more fish on this pattern than all the other ones combined. So I'm just going to get it started and pull it real tight. Bring this all the way back again, around that bend. Put this in my material clip, give my thread a counterclockwise spin to flatten it. And then I'm just going to make sure I go over this whole thing again. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to create my taper. So we here tie chironomids like this. We don't tie the buzzer style that often, like you guys do. I do, and I use them quite a bit. So let me get that. Just give me a sec. There's a a piece of that buzzer flex is in there. See if I can yank that out. If not, I'll bury it. Oh no, I'll just bury it. It's got to build it up here anyway. So now I'm going to go back about 3/4 of the way. Stop, counterclockwise spin, and come back forward again. Yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of that little buzzer flex. It's going to annoy me. I know it's something minor, but it's going to annoy me. So see if I can get in there and grab that. Come on.
Yeah.
If not, I'll just bury it. I'm just going to have to bury it. It's just annoying me, that's all. So now I'm going to go back about halfway and then back forward again. Yeah, that's really annoying me. It's a bit better. Now I'm going to go back 1/4 way and back forward. And now I'll go all the way back. About there. Again, counterclockwise spin to flatten my thread. Back forward. Touching wraps. Get nice coverage there. And I'm going to take my buzzer flex and I'm actually going to twist it into a noodle. I want it tightened up. I don't want it to flatten out. Now, if you don't have buzzer flex, just use black 0.2 mil wire. I'm just giving that. And then every time I go around, sorry, wrong way. I like going this way. I give it a bit of a twist. So sorry, for those people that worked in on the pre-session call, I burnt the crap out of my hands. I've got sunburn on the inside as well. I'm having a hard time actually twisting this. It hurts my fingers. They're all red. So I'm just going to undo that one. So I'm going to, just every time I come around, just going to give it a bit of a twist. Creating that really nice segmented look. And bring this right up to the front here. I'm going to tie that off. Stretch it, cut it, whip finish it. And then I'll come in with this rust color. So it's from Danville's. It's kind of a rust. So on this is just basically a little hot spot / wing bud. You know, instead of using some buzzer flex or goose biots or whatever up front, we just put a little bit of this like a hot spot thread.
It's not in your face either, is it?
Nope. It's just minor, right? And then I coat it with, you can coat it with UV resin if you've got really thin UV resin. I want to see, I want it to end up having that segmented look, right? Not just look, but I want that texture as well. So I'm using Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. I'm assuming you guys can get this over in the UK. It's just nail hardener. So I do 2 coats of that. It looks like it's completely coated, but it will end up looking like not that one. Let's see if I can find the one. It will end up looking like this when it dries. So it is completely coated, but it's still got, like, if I go across there with my finger, it's still got that segmented look.
Yeah.
Right? but it is completely coated. I caught, probably 36 fish on one fly, and then some big fish too, with, you know, some toothy buggers, right? So, and that's got 2 coats of this Sally Hansen's on it. So very simple. Like I said, that's how we tie a lot of our chironomids here, is quite simple. So let's go to another one. This one's a little bit more to it, but not a lot. It's again, same hook, same bead. And depending on what look you want with it, you can do it with either black or a gray or whatever color. I'm going to use that same thread again, that gunmetal or the steel. Same size hook, 14. And I'll tie these in a 12 to 18. But it seemed like 14s were the, at least this weekend. I mean, you know how that changes. 14s seem to be the ticket. That's the one they wanted. So this time, instead of using the buzzer wrap, I'm going to use 0.2 mil black wire. I'm going to stick that right in under that bead on my side. And I try to keep it on my side. Or on the top, whatever, wherever you like putting it, but just keep it wherever you put it, keep it there. I'm going to come around that corner and again, come back forward. And then I'm going to use some of this here. This is ASB. I'm assuming you guys have this there. It's basically just window tint is what it is.
Anti-static.
This happens to be, sorry?
Anti-static.
No, it's different than anti-static. It's window tint. Yeah, it is different. It is slightly different than anti-static bag. I know that's what it says there, but it's not. This is actually window tint that they use to tint windows in vehicles. So, and this has been cut on one of those Cricut machines or CRT, yeah, Cricut, I think they're called. That's where they've been cut. And this is in a bronze, and it's been cut to 0.75 millimeter width. Okay, so one strand. And like I said, this is the bronze color. And just bring this all the way back and around the corner. And now again, I want to make sure I coat my body well with this gunmetal or steel in this case. And do that, get that taper going again. So I'm going to go back about 3/4 of the way. And then back forward. These can get a little monotonous, but there also can be, I love just sitting there having a video in the background on my computer or on the TV and just sit and tie these up because they don't take a lot of, you don't need to pay attention as if you're doing like hackle and stuff. Come about 1/4 of the way, back forward again. Right behind that bead. Then I'll take my anti-static bag or my window tint, and I'm going to swing over my magnifying glass, and I'm going to do open spirals here, open wraps. because I want to be able to have room for my black wire, and I want to see that steel come through the background as well. And I'm pulling, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it kind of squeaks a bit in my fingers. I am pulling it fairly tight. Bring it forward. Cut that off. And then follow that same direction, follow that window tint and just go right in front, that leading edge of the window tint. Just got to see where I am here. Yeah, that leading edge of the window tint. So basically this ends up a bit of a tricolor because you get the black from the wire, you get that bronze kind of look from the window tint, and you get a little bit of that steel or gunmetal background from the thread. Helicopter off my wire. Give that a whip finish. Now, I like adding a little hot spot on all of mine. And in this one, I'll do this is kind of a wine color. And I just put a little bit of a wine red hot spot wing case, whatever you want to call it. Again, it's subtle. It doesn't pop. And same procedure, 2 coats of Sally Hansen's. Start with one, obviously. And this one here, you get that kind of that chromy look, you know, when the chironomids are emerging and they get they trap that gas. So you get a little bit of that chromy type look to them, but not as chrome as a chromy as if you were using like silver tinsel or something, right? So can you guys see that one well enough? Is it in focus enough for you?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that better? No, that's worse. So yeah, you can see that it's got kind of almost like a triple color, right? So plus that little bit of that red head. And I also will put a red butt coming down and around the corner as well sometimes, just down to about there. So about maybe a 16th of an inch or so, or maybe an 1/8 of an inch. A little bit of a red butt as well. So,
Nice looking buzzer.
and we fish, sorry?
Nice looking buzzer.
Thank you. We fish these primarily under a strike indicator. We do fish them what we call naked as well, but most of our chironomid fishing is done under one of these, right? Or a round version in multiple colors, right? So it's not my favorite, to be honest, not my favorite way of fishing. It's just it takes you back to being a kid and that old worm and bobber, staring at the old red and white bobber as a kid with the worm under it. But it's not my preferred way. but sometimes that's just how they want it. They want it, the fish want it, very static. They don't want it moving much. We did fish just long line, like we were in 12 feet of water, 14 feet of water, anchored, and we'd have a dry line on with, like say 12 feet of water, we'd have 14 feet of leader and have one of these on and just let it sink. And as it sinks, we'll just do a really slow, really super slow figure of 8. And that means if you think you're going slow enough, half it, that's slow. And we were getting them that way as well, but they really wanted them very static. They like, even when we had them under our strike indicator, we just let the waves do all the work, all the little, what we call chironomid chop, all that little wave, just let it do it. We didn't retrieve it. We did nothing. We just let them sit there. And that's what worked best this past weekend. Sometimes they want a little bit of a retrieve, but this past 5 days, they didn't want you to touch it. So,
what sort of depth, Rick?
well, it all depended. Most of the places that we were at all weekend we were fishing in under 17 feet of water, and like some place, like a couple of the lakes, we were in 12 feet of water, and we had our strike indicators or our leaders set at like 11 feet, so just a foot above the bottom. Other place, like a place called Big OK Lake or Island Lake, we were fishing in 17 feet of water, but we had our strike indicator set at 7. They were mid-column, right? They weren't at the bottom. They were feeding at mid-column. If you were at 9 feet, you wouldn't get anything. If you were at 5 feet, you wouldn't get anything. You had to be in that 7-foot range. They were very, very particular. So it took us a bit. There was me and my buddy, and we both had 2 rods out in our boats. And when we had the rods out, what we did is we said, okay, we're going to go park in 17 feet of water. You have yours set at 15 and 12. I'll have mine set at 10 and 7. And then we figured out, oh, they're hitting at 7. Oh, hitting at 7. We changed them all over to 7, right? Until we found where they were feeding, right? So, and like I said, we got some monsters this weekend, like big wild trout. Mine was 2 ounces short of 10 pounds. And we had many in the 7s, many in the 8s. So for here, those are big fish. So, because they're not your typical stockies like you guys. You guys have a lot of stocked fish in your ponds where you guys go stand on shore and stuff, or where you're in your big locks. We don't have that here. We're very seldom, right? So, okay. One more. Let's go on with, this time we're going to be using a Hends BL554.
Excuse me, Rick.
Size 12. Yes.
Owen Truth from Ireland. That nymph, I call it nymph, was what you tied there. Have you any rivers over near where you fish? Because last year I came up with a nymph called the bulrush nymph. It's like these bulrushes grow in the river. And listening there to, on the lake, where you cast it out and let it go down, where you make a small retrieve, that's stimulating where a flowing river is going down different depths, being pulled through it, coming down detached.
Yep. Yeah, it's bringing it up through the column. Yeah. And that's what we were doing, very slowly bringing it up through the water column. I fish buzzers, or our chironomids, let's call them, or whatever you guys want to call them. I do fish these in the rivers as well, because our rivers are full of midges, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'll fish this in a river. Yeah. So, so this next one here is going to be a bit more kind of a hybrid between a European or a UK and what we do here. It's something that I fish a lot, and it's a chironomid or buzzer emerger.
What did you say with the case, Rick?
This is a Hends BL554 in a size 12.
Cheers, thank you.
So even the 550, which is their clink hammer hook, works really well as well. But I find with the clink hammer hook, the gape between here and here is a little bit tighter, and I want a nice open gape here. I want that positive hookup, right? So again, I'm counterclockwise. I want to keep this body super thin, more, more buzzer style, like you guys tie them, really thin. And then I'm going to come up to about there, and I'm going to tie in some 0.1 mil silver wire. And that's not 0.1, that's 0.2. Where's the 0.1? I thought I had a piece out. I don't. I'll have to cut another one because I don't want a really obtrusive wire, because if I go with a silver here at 0.2, that's like huge, and I don't want that. I just want that hint of a rib, right? So I'm going to go with the 0.1. Lay that in. Again, leaving it on whatever side you started on, leave it on that side. So if you started on your side, leave it on your side. If you started on the opposite, leave it on the opposite. Start on the top, leave it on the top. Just for conformity, right? If you start letting it go all over the place, you get these ridges and bumps. Not that I don't think the fish can see that personally, but I think that's more of a for us thing. But so again, I keep a nice thin body. I'm not going to try to build that into a taper. And then I'm just going to give myself my ribs. So this one, the ones I was showing you earlier did well, pretty well throughout the day. This one here did really well for me, at least. My buddy didn't even try emergers. He's never fished emergers, so he had no idea how. So tried to explain it to him, but he didn't want to. He was having success with the chironomids under an indicator, so he didn't want to change. I was getting bored of staring at an indicator all day, so the height of the sun, so around between 1 and 3 o'clock, I started changing to this when I saw the odd swirl starting, when the fish were swirling just subsurface. So now I'm going to take some just some white poly yarn, and I'm going to, because it's fairly thin, this one, I'm going to double it over because I want a fairly standout white here. So we're going to just tie that in. Not worried about what it looks like at the moment. Just want to make sure that it stays up on top. Bring that all the way forward, leaving a little bit of room by your eye. I want to crowd your eye. But like that. Come back over top of it again to the back. And then I'll take my scissor here. And I just want a little bit of a tuft out the back. And about the same out the front, give or take. Maybe a touch longer out the front. Then I'm going to take some of this mosaic straggle from Uphaven. There we go. Going to expose my core. Just tie that in. And then I'm going to try to make it so this kind of sits backwards or flares out. I don't want it facing forward. Just want it flaring out a little bit like that. Just 3 wraps over top. And then I'll lift it all up and go in there, front of the, behind the eye, cut off my strag. And I will come in here and trim this stuff shorter because I don't want it this long, but they don't make it any shorter. So in this brand, and I really like the mosaic in this one. That's why I use it. Just takes an extra few seconds to come in and just trim that a bit, and I'll just make sure I push my poly yarn out of the way, do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish. And there's the little emerger. This thing worked so well this past weekend. Like I said, once it started warming up and I started seeing the odd subsurface swirls, I changed over to this. Now, the other one that worked really well is your typical classic shipman's buzzer, right? That one worked as well, but I really like how the way this one sat, because it kind of sits like if I can open it, well, kind of sits like this in the water, right? All you're seeing is that, right? So it sits like a shipman's buzzer, but it's got that chironomid body or that buzzer body sitting in the water like a typical emerger, right? You can coat the body, and normally I would, before I even tie anything on. I'll tie a dozen or so up to that point and coat them, and then I'll come back and I'll do the thorax section, right? So that way it's just a little stronger. And I tie these in multiple different colors. I'll tie them with black body with silver rib, black body with red rib, black body with a yellow rib. I'll tie them in green bodied. I'll tie them in red bodies. Red butt black is excellent as well. I'll even tie, like I did the last one, I'll tie that type of body. Oh, did I just lose you guys?
No, it's still there.
Oh, okay. I'm using a program on my that shows what my phone shows on my computer, so I can see whether it's out of focus or not, and it just shut down. So just let me see if I can get back to it. If I can't, oh well. There we go. There it is. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. So I'll tie them in multiple different colors, body. The front section, though, I always tie exactly the same as what I just did. I really like this mosaic, and I like the poly yarn. I just want to make sure I don't have these legs too long, because I mean if you look at chironomid legs when they're hatching, they're not that long, right? When they're on their way up. So, righty. So that's my little emerger. Now, I will go a little crazy. So here in certain lakes in BC and in British Columbia where I live, I don't know if you guys have the same thing over there. We get absolutely monstrous chironomids sometimes in certain lakes. We call them bombers. Yes, that's just a nickname, but I mean, when I say massive, I mean massive. Your normal buzzers or chironomids are, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20s. These are 6s and 8s. They're absolutely huge. So this is a size 10 of that aquatalon, which is about an 8 in a normal hook. So it's large compared to a did I have them here? Compared to a, let's say just trying to see if I can find a smaller one. Here's a size 14 in comparison. So, right, your normal buzzers, and then there's these bombers. And they're not a lot different than what I've been tying. They're just huge. And we ran into quite a few huge ones yesterday. And they were the color that I'm going to share with you now. This is the color they were. by the throat samples. So they were a very kind of watery, olive, limey kind of green, but they were in a almost a chromy. So they were very interesting chironomids yesterday that we were doing. We actually my my throat pump actually got plugged with these in one fish because there were so many. It actually the whole tube was just plugged. So this time I'm going to use, where is it? The black wire again, the same one I used earlier, the 0.2 mil. I think I got a piece here somewhere that I already have out. Is that the 0.2 or is it the 0.1? That might be 0.1. Let me get a 0.2 out. Because I want a fairly predominant rib on this one. And it's going to be, a two-tone. So, but like I said, these things are absolutely humongous when they're flying around. I didn't have a Chironomid in my box big enough. Well, no, yes, I did. Actually, I had this one here. This is the one that I was catching them on yesterday. It was this one, right? But this one's got a triple, but it's got a yellow rib in it, and with a red finish. So, okay, so that's that. Now we're going to use that same material again, but this time it's in the regular silver, if you want to call it that, or gray, and it's a 1 mil instead of that bronze at 0.75. It's a 1 mil, and it's in that kind of that silvery. This is closer to anti-static bag color. I actually love fishing. When I see bombers coming off, I love fishing big size 6 and size 8 shipments buzzers and almost skating them across the top. But we don't get them in a lot of our lakes. We get them in some, but not a lot. And the 2 lakes that we were fishing in the last few days are 2 that do get them. And get them fairly prolifically. Okay, one more time. The other thing I'll do with this that I probably should have shown you guys, but I didn't, is I put I'll put the gills out the front, but I can show you that on the next one. So, same thing as we did earlier now. We're just going to leave a bit of a gap so you can see that green coming through. Spacing doesn't have to be perfect, but and I know I don't know what the rule of thumb in the UK is, but here they always, oh, it's got to have 7 ribs. Yeah, fish can't count. So now I'm just going to, again, just follow that leading edge of that ASB. This just segments it really nicely. Just gives it that really segmented look. but allows that green to come through. And so when you guys do your throat samples over there, do you guys ever see green bloodworms?
No.
No? Okay, so maybe it's something that's normal, more normal here. But yeah, we get in our throat samples, you get bloodworms, but you also get ones that are they're exactly the same shape wise, but they're green like this.
We get them in our local river at home.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was imagining things years ago, you know. But actually, you get them around when the water starts getting warming up. You get them into the rocks.
Okay.
You'll be walking down the river. You'll be fishing trout. You'll be kicking what's in front of you to disturb what's going down in the river. So what's coming up the river trout, you get them.
Mhm.
And I saw these green things. I thought it was bloodworms, but I trapped them. I saw it was a green worm.
Yeah, and it's just for here, it is a chironomid, it is a buzzer, it is a bloodworm. It's just that it's a different subspecies, and they get green, right?
Well, I used to tie it in, or use a floss. I used dubbin, seals for dubbin.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Now I didn't tie it very heavy, but just enough to create that air pocket in it.
That little air bubble, yep.
Yeah, it is just enough of a medium to heavy hook in order to justify using the dubbin to create that air pocket, that buoyancy, where there's a bubble.
Yep.
Well, we cast a square coming across, and you can see that you can feel the movement of it. We're going to create air bubbles.
Yeah, well, and a lot of ours, we caught quite a few fish this weekend on what we call a chromie, which are these here. So that's the finished fly. These can be used in the rivers as well. They work absolutely phenomenal in the rivers. And the size of them, like I said, I mean, they're huge, right? If you compare them to my finger, they're a very big fly. But we have some lakes that this is what they want. They want this is what's hatching. When I was at Layton Lake yesterday, this is the size that was hatching. And then they fly around like little hummingbirds. Right? They're not a small little dainty little chironomid like what we're used to. I mean, at one of the high elevation lakes we were at on Monday, we had size 30 chironomids. Right. Well, I'm not tying a size 30 chironomid. I'm old and blind. So.
That's what magnifier lens are for.
Yeah, no. I'm literally blind in one eye. I've got a glass eye.
I'm nearly 49 and my eye's starting to go, but I use the magnifier for that.
So there's the finished. So that's like I said, that's what we would call, because of the size. Here, I'll compare them to what we just tied, right? Come on, you little bugger. We call that a bomber. Whoops, there we go. Right? Almost double the size of what I was just tying. So, but this is what I was saying is a chromie. This is what we caught quite a few fish on. And this, what it does is exactly what you were just talking about. It represents the air bubbles caught under the skin, right?
Correct.
So it's like really, it's just using hollow tinsel as a body.
Yeah.
And then a red rib and a little bit of peacock dubbing in the front as the thorax, and done, right? And a little red butt as well. But that's usually, I think that was just with the wire. Yeah, that's just with the wire as I came forward. Yeah. Super simple little fly, but especially down deep when they still are full of the gases, because they use those gases up as they come up, right? So that's that we found.
The next time you tie one of them small, tiny ones, try and mix it with a bit of pink, a slight bit of magenta, and some golden olive through that mixture of dubbing.
Yeah, I mean
And
you mean
mix,
for the thorax
for,
section or for
no,
the
for the body, for the body.
for the body? Okay.
Yeah, and finish off then with a glow right number 4 head.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
something I have in my own.
buzzer.
That's something I have in my own box. I was thinking about it before, and I'd mixed these 4 dubbins, 3 to 4 dubbins together, and I dubbed it on the hook, and it worked.
So you're talking more buzzer style than like not
Yeah,
like this with the bead head.
but there's a bead head on it, so there was. I put the bead head on the
Oh,
hook.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm always thinking outside the box.
Well, I mean, and that you got to, right? I mean, it's fish get, not that they're smart, but they get wary because they see the same damn thing over and over and over and over,
Yeah,
and eventually they're going, "Hey, I know what that is. That's owie," right? So you gotta change it up, right?
correct.
So so this another again another style. You guys probably tie very similar, but and I'll just do a real quick one here, and then I've got one more for you. Um, this is gonna be it's gonna have gills, and this, like I said, this past weekend, it depended where I was. Some of them wanted that straight white bead head. Some wanted these gills sticking out the front. It depended which lake I was at. So again, I'm just going to go with the white poly yarn, just a little piece of it. And I'm using nano silk, not to so I don't build up the body. I'm going to come back. Build up this area because I got to put the bead back over top. So I'm just going to catch that in, and then make sure I spin it so it sits on top of that hook. And I'll just go like that. I'll take my scissors and I'll cut on an angle. I'll take my whip finishing tool and I'll just whip finish on the way down, making a bit of a taper there. Cut that off, bring my bead back up over top, tie my black thread back in. Shorten that up. And now it's just basically tying a chironomid, right? So, but like I said, sometimes they wanted that white poly yarn. They wanted that movement, that fluff. They didn't want a static bead, right? Come back forward again, and then I'm going to tie in. In this case, this is one of my favorite. Like it's usually the first chironomid on my line. And it's a dual rib. So I go with a 0.1 millimeter red. Come on. And I keep it on my side or on the top or on your side, wherever, as long as it stays. And then come back forward again, building up that taper as I go here. Got to loosen off my bobbin there. It was a little tight. So, and now same thing, I'm going to grab a 0.1 mil silver wire, tie that in. Off. Bring that all the way back. And then I'm just going to make sure I make my body nice and tapered. Just counterclockwise spinning my thread to flatten it, making sure I cover all that wire. the silver and the red. I don't want any poking through. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, unless I know what's happening, this is the first chironomid on my line.
So a size 10 as well.
This is a 12. Again, it's a 14 in this hook, but it's actually a 12. Like there's one thing, and I've actually, because I know the guy that developed these, and I that's the one thing I've told him. I said, you guys got to get into the sizing, because it's you know you're trying to stay fairly consistent when you're fly fishing or when you're tying or when you're doing things like this, and you tell people, oh yeah, it's a size 12 chironomid hook, but it's not. It's not a standard. It's not even close, right? So now I take both of my wires at the same time, and it can be tough sometimes because they want to naturally try to separate, and I want to try to keep them together as close as I can. And if they don't cooperate, just tie one forward and then you tie the other one right up against it. Quick whip finish. Again, add in my little wing bud color, whatever color that is that you'd like. In this case, I'm going to go back to that kind of that wine, because it kind of matches the red of the rib. And bingo, you're done, right? So again, not a lot different, just slightly different colors. And like I said, at a couple of the lakes we were at, they did not want the white bead head. They wanted the white gills, right? So it was all learning. And I can tell you, at the one place, I wish I would have got a photo of it, but at the one place we went, the throat samples were just loaded with white gills. Like you saw the white more than you actually saw the chironomid. It was so heavy white gilled in that particular lake at that particular time, right? So there, that's just a little, I call it it's a dual rib black, red and silver dual rib black chironomid with a little bit of white poly yarn. So, and again, I'll tie those from, this is about as big as I'll go normally, and I'll tie them all the way down to a size 18. So one last one, and this one's kind of a hybrid. It is a bloodworm, but it's also, I think they're taking it as a sometimes if slick enough, I think they're taking it as a bloodworm, but I think they're also taking it as a leech. So, and a couple of the fish that we throat sampled this weekend were just absolutely packed with leeches. So again, we're back to that big aquatalon, the size, what they call size 12, but it's probably between a 8 and a 10. And I'm going to use the rust colored thread. Now you can do this in many different colors, rust or wine or bright red are the three that I use. And you can tie this quite a bit smaller. I'll actually show you some that I tie smaller. Slightly different, but Just make sure that's nicely coated. And then I'm gonna get all this crap out of my way that I don't need because it's just gonna get in the way. Then I take some, they call it golden brown, but I would put it right up there with the rust color. Marabou, but it is called golden brown from H&H. I'm just going to try to find a decent feather because I know this pack kind of sucks, but there's a decent feather there. And what I do is I'll grab it by the tip and I'll just stroke all this down just so it comes out to 90 degrees. And then I'll just, from one side, I'll just strip it off. Hopefully you guys can see there, strip it off. And then I fold it over on itself. And then I strip it off and I fold it over on itself and maybe a little bit more. And then I take that off. So there, I've used about that much of the feather. So it's about 2 finger widths, give or take. Got myself my little package. Just gonna make sure all the materials lined up, and I'm just giving it a little bit of a wet with some saliva, just so it's just easier to handle. Just cut off all that under fluff that I don't want, and I'm going to lay it down right here. Over top, and then just lay this, make sure it stays on top all the way back to the bend, and even come around the bend just a bit. And then I'll go under 3 times. And then I want that about the same length as the shank. So from there to here, roughly past. So I'll just roughly rip that. Don't cut it, right? You want it to look natural. And this is where I'm having a tough time because my fingers are all burnt. Give or take. Okay. Come back forward. Now I'm going to grab that 0.2. See if I have any sitting out. If not, I'll have to cut a new piece. 0.2 silver wire. 0.1, 0.1. Nope, I'll have to cut a new piece. So I like the silver because it just gives that little bit of, hey, what's that flash? And it shows off segmentation too, right? So again, I'm just going to lay that on whatever side, top, bottom side, it's up, whatever. Really doesn't matter. Get that out of my way. And I'm going to keep my thread at the back. And I could use a slightly bigger head as well if you'd like. Depends. So now I'm going to take the same feather, and I want some more of this webby stuff that's on the bottom here. Like you can see how much more thin this is and how much more webby this is. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that off. Not a lot. Maybe 1.5 fingers, 1 finger. Not that much. Okay. I'm again going to lick it just to slick it back, and I'm going to go to the tips. And just square off my tips. Just lay my tips here. And just add that on. And then I'm just going to touching wraps, not overlapping, because you want to keep it still fairly thin. Right? And you see how it's starting to get webby like that? That's exactly what I want. That's why I picked those webbier ones. I want there's a little bit of movement, those spikes. Just tie that off. Nice and close, cut that off. Now I'll take my wire. come in right behind that bead. And because I'm not going to coat my body here with anything, because that'd be counterintuitive, I'm just going to take a little bit of Sally's or whatever head cement you like and put it on the thread before I do my whip finish, because I don't want to get too much in there and make those little barbules get stuck, right? So try to just be careful not to. And that's it. So I fish this by stripping it, and I also fish this under a strike indicator. I tie these in reds, in greens, in like different reds. This browns, but I also tie them exactly the same, and I use them as a damselfly. Put a little bit of a blue flash in them or something, like tie them green, tie them like a watery olive, or tie them a darker olive or whatever, and then just put a little bit of a flash in it, and then it's a damselfly, right? Really super simple damselfly. Oh, just grabbing my fly boxes. Right, so I'll tie them depending, right? Like size wise, as a damsel, really small, right? And thin. And I caught lots of fish on this on the weekend as well at a certain one lake that it was a low elevation lake, so it was lots of damsels moving around. So just that under a strike indicator or that being stripped in was deadly. And I also do it in a chartreuse bead, and it worked as well. Right? Nice and small and thin. And then I'll make them quite a bit bigger as well. And I'll hang, like I said, I'll hang them under a strike indicator and use them as a. Let's see if I've got any, or if I gave them all away. I may have given them all away this weekend. Yeah, I did. I gave them all away. But I'll tie them on a jig style, so on a jig hook, right? And they're absolutely deadly under a strike indicator, and tied in a jig style. And I tie them in multiple colors as well, right? So here's his in black, right? But different colors, different sizes. But yeah, so and that bloodworm that I was talking about earlier, remember I was saying that I tie them smaller, bigger, different colors, all that. So this is a big version, right, of this. And then I tie this one up really sparkly because I want this down right in the mud. So it's just got silver hollow tinsel underneath it, and then silver rib with just a marabou tail. And I fish this one right down in the mud. Like if it's 15 feet deep, I'm at 14.9 feet. I'm just like that much off the bottom with these, right? If I'm putting them in under an indicator, if I'm using them just on a dry line, then I'll just, if it's 15 feet, I'll usually have 16 feet a leader, or even 17 feet a leader, and just let that sink all the way down and then start bringing it up really slowly, right? So I do like my bloodworms. I tie a lot of them, a lot of different versions, right? Like that's just buzzer flex in red. I tie them very, 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 very simple, just like that. Just just thread. Tie them with a little bit of a buzzer flex butt that comes off, right? With no bead. Of course, you gotta have the monstrosity, the apse worm, right? So But yeah, so that's how we tie and how I tie chironomids, and I tie them in, like I said, so many different color versions, right? Like I'm not just sticking to the blacks and the stuff. Like lots of greens with red butts, lots of even limeys, what we call limeys. Excuse the word, but right, super bright lime colored. We'll tie them in browns. Root beer was another color that worked this weekend. This is a yellow thread, but once it's tied and coated, it looks kind of like a really light green. And then I'll get a little on the sparkly side as well. So this one has got a little bit of hollow tinsel in it, a little bit of red thread, right? But the thinner the profile, the better. Some of these chironomids can be so thin. Now, like I said, this weekend, not so much. They were huge. So, and then this one, I thought I'd just show you the one last one. This one here was probably my second top producer this weekend. That one there. Again, it's I think it's very similar to the one I tied earlier. It's just got a really bright orange hot spot, right? So it's like get the fluorescent orange hot spot, and then again red and silver rib, black body. Super simple, right? All righty.
Anybody got any questions for Rick?
Absolutely fantastic time.
Thank you. I know it wasn't a full session, but it was kind of last minute, so I tried to get what I could. But
thanks for stepping in.
Well, thanks very much.
Anytime, guys. I'm just going to zoom out so he can actually see me, not just that. Yeah, no, anytime you guys need me to step in, just let me know. I've got a couple of good presentations on dragons and stuff, so maybe one day I'll come in and get some do a session on dragons, do some like furry foam dragons, right, that kind of thing. But yeah, your guys' fishery's really pumping up. Like you guys doing really well right now, or is it just
it's getting good now.
Yeah, ours is like I said to Derek earlier before the call actually started. Two of the lakes I fished this past weekend. One was at 5,086 feet, and we were there on the Saturday, and ice came off on Thursday. Right. And then the other one we were at was at 4997 or something like that. We were there Monday, and the ice came off on Wednesday prior. So, yeah, we're still all of our lakes are pretty well ice free now, but yeah, we're high up in the hills here, right? High up in the mountains where I am. So we're like where I live is almost 3,800 feet. So we've got lots of like I was saying to Derek, I probably have 200 good, like really good fishable lakes within an hour's drive. So
can't complain at that, can you?
Oh, indeed.
Nope. Just give me a second here. Let's see. I'm just going to see if I can do something just to show you guys. Hopefully you're still there. I didn't kick you out. There. And I'm going to turn my camera. Because I don't know which other way to do it because I don't know how to share. So I just thought here's my buddy with a, come on. There you go. I'm going to just turn this around. Sorry if I'm wobbly, but see if I can. You guys see that?
Yes, indeed.
That's a good fish.
So that was a 7.5. That was his personal best out of a lake. And he's fishing out. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one. He's fishing out of what I call, it's my frog boat. So it's this one here. So it's just it's only 60 pounds, and it's got these detachable legs that can come off or go on. And this has got to be the most stable boat I've ever been in, ever. You can jump up and down, sideways, upside down, backwards, and it won't move.
Right.
And then there's now, unfortunately, I didn't get a good picture because it was just me, but this thing was 2 ounces under 10.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, if I would have been able to hold it properly, you would have been able to see it. And it's, let's see if I can, yeah, you can zoom in there. There's that gunmetal gray chironomid in its mouth. Right. So yeah, that's a very nice fish this weekend. Very nice. So yeah, and there's that damselfly that I was just showing you guys, the green one. Right?
Mm.
Yeah, so this here was at a lower elevation lake, and it's pretty deserty. You can see in the background, it's all tumbleweed and stuff. These ones here were all high mountain. You can see, and very, very wooded. And you can see how green the water is in some of them, right? Just full of scuds. Oops. This was there's another big one that he got. This one was just over 6. But super windy day that day. Yeah, we can see standing in that frog boat, right? Like no problem whatsoever. And like I said, just super light. These legs come off with one little pull and they click in. There's another nice Passeck strain rainbow. So yeah,
We're all
it was a nice
turning
weekend.
our heads sideways.
Sorry. You want it that way?
That's better.
Better.
Well, say
all
that
right.
then instead of me going through them all. There, is that better?
That's it.
Perfect.
You're getting stiff
So,
next.
I'll go back up to that big one then, so you guys can see it without twisting your necks. So
Paul's got a crick in his neck now.
there, is that better?
Perfect.
Yeah, he actually took this one home. We don't usually keep a lot of fish, but he took this one home and let's see, I don't know if I have a picture, if I kept it or not. No, I don't have it. He took it home and he's got, his wife is Japanese, and as soon as he took it home and started filleting it, she pushed him out of the way and said, "No, that's mine for sashimi. You're not allowed to have it." Yeah. So there's another one of our club members. That's the Kamloops Fly Club. He got that one. Where is yeah, here. This is the another one of the guys from the Kamloops Fly Club. He got that one. That one was 7 pounds, 14 ounces. So yeah.
You had a good time.
We did. Yeah, and there's a video of him catching it, but it's like 4 minutes long, so I'm not going to show you that. But yeah, no, it was a really nice time. And like I said, all of these fish were caught on either damsels or like chironomids, like, right? Like that's that gunmetal chironomid that I tied very first. The white beadhead, gunmetal, right? And that's a size 14 and it caught a 10-pound fish, right? So, I mean, these hooks here are decent. So, but so I'm just going to turn you around so you guys can actually back on the camera. I'll turn it around if I can. There we go. So yeah, like I said, we had a really good weekend, and it's like I'll be fishing pretty well every second day here because I don't know if I've ever shown you guys where I live, but like I told you guys, I live right up in the mountains, right up in the hills. So I'll turn you around. You guys can see if it'll work. There. So just up in those hills, right up there, is that where I caught the 5-pounder? Is just like 20 minutes that way. We got all these hills everywhere. There's lakes. There's a lake in that valley just down there. Yeah. So we're up at 3,800 feet, and there's lakes everywhere.
Well, you got caught the sun so much, Rick. You're so high up, you're nearer to the sun than us.
Yeah. No, that's not why. I was just too stupid to put sunscreen on. That's all it was.
Thanks for stepping in.
3,800.
Rick.
You're very welcome. And like I said, anytime, just let me know if I'm available and not doing something. If I'm not fishing, I'll be there.
Cheers, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick.